Hello viewers, today we will be cleaning, servicing and repairing this Aloha Breeze fan that unfortunately is made in China, and it is model number 46016. It claims to be a vintage table fan, although it falls far from that. So, I'm usually not a big fan of these kind of fans because they're not very well designed, in my opinion. The blades are usually very thin and the pitch is minimal, and they make a lot of noise and they don't move a lot of air. But this one, the blades seem to be kind of wide. So I'm wondering if perhaps this one may be okay. And I believe the blade has a problem and it shakes really badly. The power bar is not on. Oh dear. I may have more than one problem. Okay, so yeah, it shakes horribly and it makes terrible sounds. So it needs a lot of help. So let's see what we can do. Guard comes off with the clips at least, that's nice. And it didn't seem like it was overly loud either. I mean, other than all that vibrating noises and so forth. The blade is definitely out of clock. Not horrifically though. It kind of looks like something hit it at one point. Not in that blade. As I thought it did. Yeah, on this blade, there's like a little chunk missing. And it's not a big chunk, but because it's on the tip of the blade, any difference in weight is going to have an impact. So I may have to add some weights on the opposing side to correct that. But we'll deal with that afterwards. Let's clean it first and then we'll deal with the balancing. We have a set screw here to remove to get the blade off. It's not a terrible blade. It's not great, and the pitch is kind of lousy, but it's not bad. Let's see here. Oh, that's interesting. Looks like I only have to undo one of those screws completely, and the rest I can turn it and pull them off. That's kind of nice. I think I'm going to go ahead and remove all these screws anyways. And then we're going to remove these 4 inner screws. That should probably just come off. Okay, so here's the motor. It's fairly small. There's oil leaking out of everything in there. Ugh. That's been happening a lot recently. Okay, let's see what we have here. The bearings feel okay for the most part. Not a lot of play in them. We got another screw in the back. And this should come off. And it's like the switch is held on with a nut on top of there. Let's get that. It's probably a 9/16. That's not a 9/16, that's a half. There's the 9/16. Oh, that's too big. Well, that kind of works. Metric. 14 millimeters. So this strain relief is going to have to come off, and it's not the intended to be removed kind either. That is going to be extremely challenging to get that off of there. I don't think I'll be able to do it without damaging the finish at least a little bit. You know, this was going relatively well up until this point too. Ow. Clearly, they never intended this to come off, which is a shame. More and more products are being made like this. And it's a problem. It's a major, major problem. Alright, I'm not sure how I'm going to get this off of here. I'm going to do this off video. Well, I put up a pretty good fight, but now it's off. So now we can undo this wiring here. And let's see here. So this is... I'm going to see if I can take this off. Sometimes I can get these to come off. Sometimes I can't. But the way this is going, it won't. Oh, let's give it a try anyways. Look at that, it came off perfectly. Okay. I'm going to get a paper here. And we're going to notate the way that this is set up. So we have this black wire, which goes to the mains, and we have mains white. This black wire, let's see with the switch, black mains goes to L, and red goes to 3, white goes to 2, and blue goes to 1. Okay. So now I'm going to save this, and we'll be able to put that back together afterwards. Now, to remove these wires from this switch, I'm going to take a paper clip. It's dangerous. Take a paper clip and put it in here, and it's going to kind of release the contact. That's how it usually works. Here we go. Let's take this off here to make that a little bit easier. Okay, this is really a nuisance. I'm going to use a pointing stick and just kind of push the contact in with this instead. Oh wow, it's still not coming. Okay. This paper clip has like lines on it, and one that's not having lines on it should be used for this. I do this often enough that I really should get the right kind of paper clip. Because with the lines, they keep getting stuck in here as I try to pull it out. Okay. So there's the switch. Put that aside. And we have, under all this dust, a grounding wire. Okay. Nothing is going easy on this. There's no reason for a grounding wire to be that stinking tight. That's outrageous. Alright, now I can pull this wire through and wash that. The base is kind of crummy too, so let's see here. I think if we undo this bolt, it should come off. This has to come off first. I guess this sits in the bottom of there for whatever reason. I don't know what that does. And that's there. Okay, so now we can do some cleaning. Took an awful lot of tools to get this stinking thing apart. Okay, so we're going to clean, where'd this go with that? Okay, we're going to clean the base, clean all these parts, and we'll clean this motor housing. Okay, now let's get into the motor. It's quite dusty. This might have been used in like a kitchen or some other cooking area. It's very slimy and there's like a coating of something kind of sticky all over it. Okay, that's going to be good enough for now. Let's clean that later. Let's see if we can open this motor up. Or actually, nah, we'll just try to do it here. As I say, it may be easier to put the stand on first, but I think we can do it this way as well. I'm going to remove the oscillator box as well, so we can make sure everything's okay in there. Pesky reverse thread screws. Okay, looks like there's plenty of lubrication in there, so we're going to leave that alone. And now we can see if the motor will split apart. Probably should have cleaned the shaft. It's not too bad. I think we'll be okay. Let's see. It wasn't great, but it was okay. Alright, so the bearings aren't too bad. They're working just fine. So we're just going to do a quick clean and lubricate. We're still under the Corona fiasco, so paper towels are still unable to be located, so I'm still using the same one from many videos ago. And I'm going to wipe off the excess grease on here because it's just going to get into the bearing as I put it back on, and that's going to cause a problem. Hope we should get some of that dust off of there too. Okay, and now whatever cleaning this is still doing, we'll clean out the bearings. And you see this one here has the grease all, where are we at? There we go. The grease is all in there. And that's a problem. That has to come out. That's going to gum up and cause friction. And you don't want any friction in the bearings. This stuff is so sticky and gross. Yes, there's all grease inside that bearing. And the grease is way too thick for a bearing application like this. Alright, that should do it. Starting to come apart a little bit. A little bit of dusting off of the windings here, but they're not too bad. Just gonna leave that alone. Okay, so now we're going to reassemble the motor, and we're going to use the electric motor oil. We could use also the blue can specifically for fans. It says it right there on the container, fans. So we could use this oil, or we could use this oil, but we can't use these oils because they're not for fans and they're stuck together for some odd reason. That's never happened before. This oil is specifically for electric motors, so this is good. Going to put some oil into the rear bearing, and put some on the shaft. Don't trip on the table. Tisk. Now when I put this back in here, I'm going to try to do it as carefully as possible to not scrape the screw with the grease on it against the bearing surface. That's working pretty well. I can put a little bit of oil in through this way as well. And it's not perfectly, centered in there, so why it's scraping up against the stator. I'll wipe off any excess oil. You can see it's spinning very nicely now. Now we'll do the front. Okay, now we'll screw it back together. Quality control passed apparently. Okay, so now this is back together, and it's kind of stiff, so we're going to take a plastic handle screwdriver and just kind of strike the shaft a few times. And now it should be spinning freely, as it is. Very good. Okay, now let's put the oscillation contraption back on. And the capacitor mounts to this bottom screw. The screw thinks it's running the show here, but it's not. I am. It's going to go into there. And then this wire, I believe this was in the bottom screw here. Okay, and then the oscillation arm connects back on here. And this is a reverse threading screw. Those are very confusing. Okay, great. Now I will go get the rest of the stuff, and we will reassemble, and then we'll have to work on the blade balance because the blade is off the rails a little bit. Other than the rust patches, this cleaned up relatively well. So now, let's see here, this I believe is going to go on here like this, because there's a flat side here and there's a hole on the other side, and I think this has to go into the flat side. So I'm going to put this on like this, and then this has a square top to it, and that's got the square hole, and so it goes through here and it locks in place so that you can put the nut on. Washer, nut. $14 and that does not need to be that tight. It's got to be able to move up and down, and this is ultimately, and I did it wrong, it goes the other way because this won't fit in there with that bolt in the way. So as it turns out, it goes like this, with the hole facing where the bolt goes. Bolt, the nut, not the bolt. I hope there's just not something wrong with that furnace. And then it's a little too tight. And this now goes in here and we'll lock it into place. Although this was not cleaned, so I gotta clean that still. Okay, that thing is drying, so now we begin the fun of dealing with the wiring and this crazy stinking strain relief thing, which I would not have designed it this way, but this is what it is. So I think I'm going to put the grounding wire on last. According to my diagram, we have the black from the mains, which is this, should be the high side, goes into L for line, I believe. And then red was into number 3. And then white went in number 2. And blue went into number 1. Okay, great. And then the black went to the white on the mains, which is the common of the low side. Okay, and I'll recrimp this. else do we have to do? This has to go. So this has to go in here, and it has to go in the right orientation. And it can fit in two different ways. So I'm going to get the switch and test it. So it could go in like this. Or it could rotate 90 degrees. I'm going to say it goes like this because that's already on off, and I had it in off before I took it off. So, we'll run through this and give it a quick test. High, medium, slow, off. Okay, so that is the correct orientation for the switch. So, back up there. So I'm going to go ahead and put the nut on. Ugh. I just realized I forgot something. I think that's struck. I don't know. I don't care. You know, these Chinese fans are only worth so much time out of the day. I forgot to put in this plastic thing. I don't know what this does, but this goes here for whatever reason. Seeing this screw. Oh, that's the grounding screw. Okay. Everything is accounted for. Let's see, get this lined up again and put this through. And put the washer back on. Put the bolt back on, or the nut back on, whatever that stinking thing is called. Must have gotten that wrong 15 times already in this video. Okay. Now, here's the fun part. Getting the strain relief back in. So I'm going to put this grounding wire back on, which is going to significantly reduce the amount of slack we have to work with. That's cool. Okay. And now okay, now I didn't take that off. Got that piece of paper on the switch. I guess I haven't gone far enough to skip that. Don't know why they have that there. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that's just stripped at this point, but I guess it still works. I don't know. It's good enough. Alright, let's see here. How are we going to get this strainer leaf back on? Oh, this thing is making me tired. I'm going to screw this in first. There we go. I'm going to put it back on exactly where it was on the wire, so that the creases are already there and we're not fighting that as well. And now let the fun begin. Oh, that actually wasn't so bad. I think because I partially bent this when I was removing it, but that's fine. It's much easier than I thought it was going to be. That's not right. I don't think that's being held in the center, or something got bent. One of the two, because the oscillation thing was not that far back before. Seems to be kind of locking up a hair. There we go. Okay. And I'll screw this in until it seems firm. I think that's good enough. Even be a little bit too much. Yeah, the motor's not liking that. Okay, we'll go with that. And let's see if we can realign that. Ah, there we go. Perfect. Okay. Let's do another power on test to make sure everything's as it should be. Oh, that's cool. That wasn't even in the frame. Ugh. The blade didn't clean up very well. I think if I put some condenser cleaner on there, it may come out better, but it's not worth the time in the day. The guards cleaned up fairly nicely, though. That I was not expecting. Why is the test phone line in the way? Here's this piece, and this is going to screw in here, and that will fall off the thing. This will lock the adjustment in place. That's kind of clever, I like that. Good design there. About as much as I can say for the design of this thing. Actually, that's not entirely true. There is something else I could say. That is in regards to the oscillation. The cord is not flexing at all inside here when it moves, so this is fairly safe as far as the oscillation goes. Anyways, so I'm going to put the blade... Actually, before I do that, let's see if I can put this on here. I don't think this is precise enough for this to work. I find that this thing, it's not as narrow as it should be at the top, and it seems to kind of stick in place. Like if I tilt this a little bit, see how it doesn't move, and then there's like a threshold where it finally moves. So I think this is not precise enough for an application like this, which is annoying because it makes the thing not very useful to me. So I gotta see if I can fix this. I'm thinking maybe like putting it on a nail or something that's thinner than this would make this thing more useful. But anyways, so we're gonna have to just do it the old-fashioned way and hope for the best. So I'm going to put the blade back on, screw in the set screw. Oops. I'm going to lock it in place with a Carmen. Alright. Let's power this up and see how bad the balance is. Oh, that sounds a lot better than it did before. Oh, that wasn't in the frame either. Ugh. Well, anyways, that sounds very good. It's shaking very, very badly. That is extremely out of balance. So what I'm going to do to see if I can find the blade that's off is I'm going to take one and bend it forward. I suspect it's going to be this one. Oh, that didn't make much of a difference. It is fairly out of clock. That's pretty close. And it made some difference, but not very much. Okay, let's get out the lead tapes. I'm going to have to add some weight onto these blades because actually, you know what, it's not very well unclocked from the back. I think we're probably going to have better results with the weights than I am playing with the clock of the blades. So, let's see here. Unfortunately, this is kind of a game of guess and check. So I'm just going to cut a piece off of here and stick it to one of the blades and see what happens. Let's try this blade. Doesn't really seem to have made much of a difference. I think this is going to be a very long and tedious process to get this blade balanced. Okay. Let's try adding it somewhere else. It seems like that may have improved it slightly. Let's try a little more on that blade. Okay, that is definitely improving it. Let's do another piece on that blade. It's definitely better, but it's still not within the range of tolerance that I'm satisfied with. I'm going to try removing it from the that original blade that we put it on, because I don't think that's really where it needs to be. And I'm probably going to throw this completely out of clock, trying to get this off of here. Okay, let's see here. This blade is quite flexible, at least. Okay, now that is very close to satisfactory. In fact, that's it. I think I'm content with that. That's very smooth. At this point now we're looking at a question of how much is too much. I'm going to put a little bit, well, I've got this piece left. I'm going to put this piece on that blade and let's see if that makes it any better or worse, because this could make it worse. This could make that blade too heavy. I'll put it towards the bottom so it has less effect. Let's see here. I think we're going to go with that. It's not absolutely perfect. You know what? I think it was better without that piece. I'm going to take that piece off. Or at least part of it anyway. So let's see. We're right near where it needs to be. I can hardly even feel that blade. Okay, that's good. That's good. We're going to go with that. Actually, let's test it at full power too. Make sure it's still good. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Nice. Okay, that was successful. So now we can put the front guard back on and we'll call this one done. Yeah, it doesn't look the greatest cosmetically, but you know, if this was something that was actually vintage, not just self-proclaimed vintage, I would spend more time on it, but it's not worth any more time. Now it's at least the point where it's usable, so we're going to go with it. Runs quite smooth now, and actually it's satisfactorily powerful. And it kind of has a nice sound to it. You know, it's obviously cheap, but I think I would actually use this. That's not bad. It's not bad at all. Okay, medium. And high. Yeah, really, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's actually pretty strong. It's kind of noisy, but it's moving good air. Not bad at all. Okay, let's test the oscillations. It is oscillating. Spin down time is good. Alright, well I am quite happy with the way that came out. Cosmetics are not the best, but the performance is pretty good.